right, welcome back to the Planet Paintball Podcast, brought to you by 1023 Sportswear. That's TEN23sportswear.com, where you can get all your custom apparel. And Southwest Paintball in Bayfield, Colorado. Go out and say hi to John and the guys out there. And that's about it. We'll jump back into it. We are finally back in the Carolinas after going around a lot lately to these different regions. So back on mission. I'm here with Carolina Threat, Justin and Austin. How you guys doing tonight?
Good.
Doing great. Yeah.
Hope you as well.
Hey, can't complain. So knocking some of these out, getting ready for World Cup, and kind of starting to think about the off season and what I'm gonna do. So it's getting crazy. Speaking of which, you guys have tryouts coming out soon. So when are those happening?
December 14th.
Okay.
Which is a Sunday.
9:30 at PBC Greensboro. We're trying to pick up a D4 national line, D4 regional, D5 regional, and maybe a Young Guns if there's enough interest. We've had some people kind of come up to us throughout the year, talk about it. So possibility of like a Young Guns or a D6.
Cool.
That's kind of a pet project for Austin and I think. So
Okay.
we would love to do that, the Young Guns thing.
No, that's awesome. I love it when teams or organizations take an interest in like developing a youth line for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. I feel like paintball's gone back to a little bit of the older side versus the 15, 16-year-old age bracket. But I think it ebbs and flows. I'm not quite sure when you guys got in, but I got in like 1999. I was like 13 or something like that. And like,
that's not far off from me.
Yeah.
So we're close. Yeah.
Yeah, about 2001, 2002. But I was much younger. I was like 6 or 7. Yeah.
Okay.
You guys got a few years on me. Yeah.
Yeah. But I come and go out of the sport. I think if you get them in young, though, they'll return when they're older.
Yeah. I'm definitely a case of that for sure. So
nice. Well, how many lines did we have this year?
We had two all year.
Okay. So what were those 2 lines primarily for?
D4X and D5X.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nationals or
regional?
Regional. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. And you guys played the
primarily AXL.
AXL. All right.
Yep.
And then you guys also played the Blitz a lot, right?
We played the Blitz as a team, kind of, sort of one time.
Okay.
It was actually kind of more of a joke team, not a joke, but a fun team. Where like Austin and I got to play together again this year. We had some of our other buddies, Andrew Klein, Nick Kugis was out there with us, just a handful of guys that we just got to have fun. We just went out to have fun,
nice.
Play paintball and have a good time. And we did. We had a great time at those events, or that one event, I should say.
Awesome. And then you guys played the C5XL, right? Did you play that
a
team? Okay.
Yeah, we did.
How was you're one of the only AXL teams I've had on. I haven't had a lot of them. So, how was the season? I guess.
It was good. I mean, D5, Austin, testament to him on that. I'll let him kind of take it away. D5 did spectacular. D4, as it always is in the Carolinas, is a tough division, and we did pretty well. Opted not to play that last event, played that C5XL instead. If we hadn't, I think we would have been in 3rd or 2nd place, depending on how we finished. So, did well as well.
Yeah.
So consistent.
Not bad for a year. Consistency is key.
Yeah.
So how long has the team been around?
Since 2020, I guess technically 2023. So I started the team then. It was kind of there's a long story with it, but got back into paintball after about 12 years, I guess, at that point. Work in the car business. A bunch of my employees wanted me to come and play paintball with them. I told them no. Ended up at PBC, ran into Porterfield, ended up buying a bunch of stuff, went out and played one day of rec ball. And a bunch of my guys came up and said, hey, we want to do tournament paintball. And I said, all right, I guess we're going to do tournament paintball. I'm going to coach and we'll just do that. And so that was pretty much how it started. That
You're back.
you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah. Phone call. The phone's connected to the iPad here I'm using. So
yeah, I got you.
but yeah, so that was 23 into 23, and then 24 we played CPXL. That was pre-Austin. We ended up playing together on Clutch that year.
Okay.
I played on Threat and Clutch and coached. And then kind of led us into this year. Yeah, it was
busy year,
crazy
man.
Year last year. Yeah, oh yeah, I was
Yeah.
super busy, super busy. And then that led into this year. Yeah,
nice. So Austin, when did you came in on this year?
Yeah, kind of at the beginning of this year. I played high level paintball for quite a few years, kind of like that D2-ish area. Played for a while. Got sick with COVID. I was one of the unlucky ones, got like long COVID and stuff. Took a couple years off to kind of get everything right on that. And then I came back with Justin last year and immediately blew my MCL. So that was kind of my sign that maybe I should change this up a little bit. So yeah, Justin messaged me early, maybe it was late last year, or probably early this year, and just asked me, hey, we need a coach. And I was interested. I've been interested in doing that kind of thing for a while. I've kind of had some coaching roles throughout my career and stuff. So it was kind of a natural fit, and I saw a need. And so, yeah, hopped on early this year and kind of slowly have been taking over more and more responsibilities from Justin and kind of letting him be more of a player and a captain and kind of letting me do a lot of the coaching. And then we both, there's a few of us that handle all the fun background stuff. So, yeah, it's been a good year so far for sure.
Nice. So Justin, out of all the guys that work with you in the car thing, how many are left?
Big fat zero, just me. It's,
of course, that's how it always goes.
Everybody wants to play paintball, man. Everybody wants to play paintball, and then you start doing it. And I told him up front, I was like, hey, it's going to take time, and if you're in the car business, you don't have a lot of that. It's going to take money. It's going to take all those things. And unfortunately a lot of those guys just didn't have the passion wasn't there. Really, it looked good on paper kind of situation. So they fizzled out. But in that process, I picked up some guys that were playing recreationally local at the field, which are huge members of the organization now, like Sean Moss, for example, who's indispensable and one of my best friends in the world now. Picked up guys like that, and they helped grow the program. They're more dedicated than I could ever ask for. So, kudos to those guys and shout out to them.
Nice. So 2 lines, 3 years. So that's a lot. as someone who's been there and done that, and you're looking to expand it.
Yeah, I know. We were gluttons for punishment, I guess. No, I had a lot of that came from bringing on Austin this year, and our friendship outside of paintball. My history with paintball, I started, like I said, in the early 2000s with tournament paintball and played all over the Carolinas and played for a lot of different teams and played some high level stuff and did all those things like a lot of guys did and went through that. But, there were people in my life that definitely, allowed that to happen. Probably my biggest, supporter was James Sanofsky, Slim. I'm sure some of the people who are listening to this podcast know James. He kind of dragged me up and, brought me along and said, hey, we're going to go do this thing. You're coming with me. So, I had that opportunity, a lot of it because of him. So when I got back into it, I was like, man, I'd love to be able to give back that way. I'm older now. I'm, financially able to help, and I'm, able to kind of support in that way. And that was a huge thing for me. And really what drove this. And then Austin is such a philanthropic person. I mean, he really gives, and he loves to do that. And so you kind of put those two together, and I think things work.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm still here. I know it froze up on me.
Yeah. Lost you there for a minute.
But
okay. We're hanging.
This is my podcast now.
Ask me all the questions. Yeah. Trying to figure out. I'm such a boomer. I couldn't figure out this thing. We're back.
Go.
You're back.
We're back. And it's still recording. Awesome.
There we go. Good deal.
All right. Hopefully it's 95% of the time it's great. That other 5% is something else. So
that sounds about right for us. We're the 5%.
There you go. So what format did you guys enjoy the most this year? In between, you did the Blitz, you did the what I would call regular X ball with the AXL, and then you did the C5, which was more of like a race 2 format. So did you guys have a preference?
I'm always partial to X ball. It was interesting going back to like the race 2. It's been a minute since I've even played or coached anything like that. So, the same sort of issues kind of come up with, the first 2 is, you're kind of playing for your back's against the wall a lot quicker kind of deal. If you're down a point or two, it gets really like, okay, we need to run our best play. We can't try some stuff. And so I think I prefer X ball. I think that momentum flows a little bit better. So if I have to choose, I would say X ball with no split deck. If I can choose anything, I think that's the most fun. You got that momentum is really strong, and it's just a absolute rush. So for me, that's definitely it.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I enjoyed the Blitz because I was literally with my, best friends getting to play paintball, which we just don't get to do, if I'm being honest. But, format-wise, I kind of like to the contrary for, what Austin said. I like the Race 2 format. I thought the C5XL was a lot of fun in that way. The pressure is good. I like that. So I enjoyed that a little bit more. I mean, played a lot of X-ball, so I guess maybe that's also the thing. It feels a little stale. So it was nice to do something new, not really new because it's how we used to play, but newish feeling again.
Yeah, it's just different, right? Like, I think that's what I liked about the Blitz myself was, got to play with people I normally wouldn't get to play with, but also it was quick, but not too quick,
100%.
if you will. You could roll in there with 5 dudes and really do it if you wanted to. So I think it was a cool concept. Interested to see if they bring it back next year or not, or expand it.
So, I hope so.
I do like that kind of, I don't know if you want to call it beer league or whatever you want to call it, but that more kind of relaxed environment. That was fun. I actually ended up playing with those guys on that tournament. I sat in the home because I'm still pretty broken, but it was still fun. It was a good time.
Yeah, I had to go run around. I was like, this is role reversal here. What are we doing?
I played that one against you guys. I can't remember who I was playing with now, but I remember seeing you come at me up the center. I was like, oh, God.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah.
I was in the snake, and I just looked back at my guy. I was like, he's doing it. Get your ass up there, man. Like, don't tell me you can't get up there.
That's just because I'm old. I can't see well anymore. And I'm trying to get somewhere closer to shoot people. It's easier.
Hey, I hear that. That's awesome. And you definitely put people on notice, man. At the C5XL, I was playing with the Rice and Beans kids.
Okay.
And I told him, I said, he's going to go up. You just wait. They're going to come and get you. That team likes to attack.
Yeah. Well, some of that's that old school mentality, the early 2000s X-ball, you just didn't have a choice, man. It's just what we did.
You really did.
Just running and shooting and stabbing as many people as you could. And I still love that.
Me too.
I still love that.
Yeah. Well, and it was funny when X-ball started, that bled over real quick into 5-man too.
Oh yeah.
In the region, like all of a sudden 5-man games were 30 seconds.
Yep.
So, and I think that's just like Carolina ball. Like when you hear about it, like,
100%.
4 to 5 guns up, sending someone up the gut, and we're going to cause some chaos.
Yep. Absolutely.
So Austin, are we going to just stay coaching next year? Or are we going to try and play a little bit?
I might pick up a little bit. I mean, I'm that guy that's always at the field pretty much every weekend anyway. So there'll definitely be some playing, but definitely my main focus is coaching for sure. If I can hop on to a couple of the CFOAs and have a little fun, I'm definitely down to do that. But primarily coaching. If my knee behaves, then I'll definitely be out there with y'all, and we'll be having a good time for sure. Awesome. Proving I'm not completely washed. So
Not washed up yet.
Yeah, exactly.
I think you played on the I was D3 squad, didn't you, at one point?
That's the team. Yeah,
That's
that
the
was our
CFA
fun
team,
team.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our Blitz team. Yeah. I used to be D3. Yeah.
Which I love that name, by the way. That's awesome.
Yeah, we were sitting there, I think, on Discord or on the phone or something, a couple of us, and it was like, we can't come up with a name. Everyone's like, do we do something serious or, and I don't remember who said it. It was me or you or somebody was like, we all used to be D3 or above, and I was like, I used to be D3. That's the name of this team. I don't care what you guys say. So I had a roster from something back in the day, and I was just changed it and registered it, and I was like, that's who we are now. So it was fun. Yeah, good stuff.
So what was the highlight of the year for each team?
I'll go first.
Yeah.
For the, I think just overall, definitely the D5 boys winning the AXL series, winning first place in that. Those guys, I mean, like I said, I came in early this year, and those boys have been there almost every, like a lot of them have been there almost every weekend, really grinding it out and not just showing up, but, really putting in the effort to, focus on, specific things. And a lot of that I'll, design up for them, but, they have to still put in the effort to, go up there and not just try to win points, but to work on specific things, whether we win or lose, we don't care kind of deal. So, those guys just grinding together, and, they've been together for even a little bit before I was here, and just kind of seeing them go from, I'm not going to say zero, but zero to hero kind of this season, and really, watch them developing into real paintball players that, doing all of the things, they're running and gunning, they're holding zones, that kind of thing. So, winning that series was kind of, was a big deal for me, but also for them and just for the organization as a whole, kind of a statement to say, we can do this and we can do this our way. And just hard work pays off sort of deal. So definitely that for me.
Yeah. It's hard for me. I look at things through two lenses. I look at it, because the organization's my baby. So I look at it that way. And I thank God Austin's here, because like he said earlier, he takes a lot off my shoulders in that way. So I get to enjoy playing. So I would say, as an organization, winning was awesome, but watching the growth with the guys was probably the biggest thing for me. And it's not really, it's a bit of an intangible, but just to see it happen was awesome. As a player, I'm going to go back to the Blitz, and I know I'm probably sound like a broken record, but just literally like standing at the box with, the people that I love to spend as much time as I can with, and also just enjoying paintball. That was just an absolute highlight for me.
Awesome.
Can't say enough.
Oh, are you guys signed up to do the 10-man too?
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like 50-50 now, so we'll see how that goes. It's a lot of paintball, a lot going on, but I know, Austin, you're playing, I think, right? And everybody else is
that's
playing.
the goal.
So, yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
Last year I walked around with a lot of beer most of the time. Played like 2 points, and I was like, I'm just gonna drink beer. So
it's a good event for that.
It is. For sure.
Especially if you can find your way into a Gridlock tent or a Scrappy Dogs tent. They got the setup.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. Well, let's dive into the history a little bit. So, where did you two first find paintball?
You want to go first? You want me to? It's up to you.
Sure, I'll go. Kind of how I mentioned, I say I started playing when I was like 7 years old. What that means is my dad took me out to the yard, and we had those old green and blue brass eagle pumps, and he shot me once, and I cried like a baby. Let's be real. But when I went inside, I could tell that was pretty much it. And then kind of a little bit of a gap here and there. And then once I got to maybe like 10 or 12, there was a big group of us. I grew up in Iowa. I'm like rural Iowa. My hometown has 450 people in it kind of deal. So really small farm town sort of deal. But there was a lot of kids that we had a lot of energy and a lot of, we wanted to do something. And, I just started pointing out, hey, we could, go to Walmart and buy these Tippmann 98s. And, my buddy's got a farm out here. And, one thing led to another. And we had sandbags out there and old cars. And I mean, that was our thing to do in the school. So that was kind of the start of it. More of this kind of realm, the tournament paintball realm. That started when I went to Iowa State.
Okay. Nice.
never really played tournament paintball. I'd stepped on an airball field a couple of times before then. But before I went to college, I got like all the basics, anything, everything that you would need to start that. Started there, kind of grew that program and kind of grew up in that program. Met some really cool guys, big name out there, Damian Ryan. He had a DMPP out there. Him and Brad basically built that field out there. So kind of gave me an outlet and kind of a goal to shoot for. And by the time I left Iowa State, I was the president of the club, was recruiting a bunch of people, and we built a couple lines. Stayed in Iowa for a while. One of those Iowa State guys that I knew knew some guys out here, and he got a job at IBM over in Research Triangle. So started hitting him up, and next thing I'm taking 28-hour Greyhounds because I'm still in college, broke, don't have 2 pennies to my name, taking 28-hour Greyhounds out here to North Carolina to play with the NC Explicit boys. And right before that time, I'd be terrible not to mention Midwest Mayhem, kind of old air assault guys, that kind of area. Some of those guys really, kind of defined those early years as well. But once I was out there to North Carolina, played with, like Corey Hicks and Joe Cho and Dexter Pittman, played with a lot of those guys. And then eventually my wife was looking to get into grad school, and I said, hey, we know all these people in North Carolina, let's just do it. And ended up down here, and then started playing for Crisis some. I played, ironically, went back to the Midwest with when Joe Cho got onto the pro spot in TMG Outlaws, and started playing D2 for them as well. We were kind of just supporting him for the most part, just giving him someone to drive out there with. A couple of us came out there. So we did that, and then kind of at that end of that sort of crisis phase, which was kind of back and forth in that time, I that's when I got COVID and kind of took off, and then came back last year, and then now we're here. That's kind of my whole story on where I've been at paintball for sure.
Cool.
Yeah, mine's not that different in the beginning, and it gets a lot different kind of shortly after that. So yeah, we did the thing. I had cousins that were older. This would have been in the mid to late 90s. And we were visiting them in Kansas, where they lived at the time, and went out to visit them. And I was like the 8-year-old kid, and they were like 16, and I'm out there with some spider that somebody handed me, trying not to shoot myself, situation. Mom found out, was like, you're never doing that again. Flash forward a couple years, like 3 years later, and we're at Wildwood Paintball in Rayford, North Carolina. I grew up in Laurinburg, North Carolina, which is a small town out towards the coast, getting that way. And started playing out there, birthday party thing like everybody gets into. My dad brought us out there. My dad had played in the early 90s and the late 80s, briefly, just for fun, rec stuff. Went out there, was really good, shot all my buddies. They didn't really like it, I did, and so started a thing where I was going out every weekend. Managed to find a couple more buddies to play, and so we were 11 or 12, I guess, when we started playing tournament paintball. So we started playing in the Charlotte Paintball League back then. I can't even remember the name of the field anymore. In the Young Guns division, which is, like I said earlier, I have a little bit of a soft spot for that. And then we won that. We won that whole season, playing all the kids from the Charlotte area. So, kids coming out of South Charlotte, Belmont, and, they've got crazy stuff. And we're out there with like spiders with T-boards that we like rigged up in the garage, we were lucky to have a Halo at that point. So, went through that process, and, got noticed by a few people, ended up down at the beach at Patriot Paintball, which doesn't exist anymore. But played it with them for a while. Did the ACTS with them. Won a bunch of tournaments. Won a series with them. And then got brought over to play with a team out of Pinehurst, Southern Pines, GC Hustlers at the time. Like I said, James Sanoski was coming off playing with like Manus and Mutiny at the time, so he was coaching for us. And I played a few events with them, and he was like, "You're coming with me," and so we started doing the whole thing. So did that kind of circuit with him for a while. Played with a handful of teams. Probably the most notable would be Hailstorm, So I played with like Joe Cho and those guys back in the day, Will Brown, all those dudes that went pro.
Oh.
And then, played with Carolina Cartel as well. Our big rival was Hammer back in the day. So shout out to all my boys that are still playing that are Hammer guys that I see at the field. I still like look at them sideways every once in a while. Did that. And then had surgery on my shoulder. I was a lot smaller and faster back then. So I played the 1 and the 2 a lot, mostly the 1, and kept throwing my shoulder out, kept dislocating it. So my senior year of high school, I've had a lot of paintball at that point, played a lot of paintball at that point. I had surgery. It slowed me down for a little while, and then got back into it shortly into college. I went to UNC Charlotte. The plan was to go play with Gridlock that year, and of course 2008 they disbanded. So or into the 2008 season. So I was like, well, course correct here. Let's figure this out. So kind of bounced around again for a while, and then ran into Nick Kugis, who I'm not sure if you know, but I think everybody in the Carolinas probably knows Nick at this point. And he was like, hey, come play club paintball with us. And I was like, what's club paintball? He was like, it's the team for the school. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. So we went out and played NCPA or in whatever the heck it is. And NCPA, am I saying that right now?
Yep.
Sorry, my boomer brain takes over sometimes. And I did that, and then, did that for like a year and ended up getting back into tournament paintball full time. Was playing with Cartel again and Buffet Bullies, actually. So when they were in D4, I believe that was right, if I remember correctly. So playing
purple jerseys.
That was purple jersey days. Yeah, that's right. All those guys, Cody Deering and Greg Finn, Hunter, they were kids then. I mean, I remember picking Hunter up to go to the field. He was a kid, you know what I mean? Come back and I'm like, wow, he's a professional paintball player now. So it was funny, man, how that all went down. But yeah, so I did that, and then I was getting ready to graduate. Thought I was going to be a parole officer. My wife was going to graduate school and had to pay the bills and knew I had to be a big boy. And at that point, I'd kind of said, I think I'm going to take a break from paintball. Got into playing pump for a little while right at the end. So so my last time I played paintball was 2011. At that point, I played a pump tournament with a couple of the buddies, and we got second place. It was an open class pump tournament. So a bunch of nerds with pump guns, and then us degenerates, so just running around the field with a pump gun, and we got second place. And I was like, you know what, this feels good enough. And so came home, basically sold everything I had except for some of the soft goods, and never looked back until, like I said, 23. So yeah. So like I said, a long story, but it's kind of the deal with how that all went down with me.
Nice. You both played college ball. How was that experience?
Fun. The most fun I think I've had playing paintball, to be honest. There's kind of a few reasons. I mean, you can think of some obvious ones for sure. You get a bunch, get a couple hundred college guys together. You have a good time. But the other side of it, the other side of it is, you get to play with people. I mean, there's literally pros and D5 and D6 kids all on the same field. And that's such a fun experience. And it really it's more open division. So that's really fun. And, just going around and, at that age, you're so young, going around seeing all over the Midwest for me, it was really cool to go over to Chicago and all those different things. So that was definitely some of the most fun I've had playing paintball. Some of those trips up there for sure. Also, something to remember for sure. Yeah.
It was different for me, a little bit. I'm a few years older than Austin, so everything wasn't fully established at that point, so it was still kind of like a budding thing. I remember playing an event at Liberty, and we're practicing at PBC on the weekends, which, was the field here. I remember driving up there to Liberty, and we walked out, we get to the field and we're like, why, it's on a mountain, it's like, what is going on here? And you get there and like, holy crap, this is like the real deal. Like, it's the nicest field I've ever seen. I've played in a lot of paintball in a lot of places. And, that was pretty wild, but it was definitely, I think it was even probably a little bit more raw back then. As things just were, there wasn't as much oversight and the logistics weren't there. So, I remember walking out there and being like, oh, there's Callie Rudolph, like, getting ready to play. And it's like, you're like, okay, that makes sense, but it was definitely just a different thing. You just didn't have we didn't have like iPhones really, I don't think, back then. Or if we did, they were like iPhone 1s, so it was a little bit different. Like there wasn't all the social media and everything. So you didn't really know what you were ever walking into. You were just going to show up and play paintball. And so that was different. But honestly, to me, it didn't feel that different from playing any other, regional or above tournament. It just felt kind of like paintball to me.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was I guess that would have been around the time APPA started, I guess, like for everything.
Yeah, they were, that was the Wild West back then, man. I'll just leave it at that. So you signed your name on a piece of paper. So it's not the same anymore. I'll put it to you like that.
No. I mean, you played some in the same era I played or began, where like you just showed up to the event and you paid your entry then.
What's your name? You're John Smith? Oh, okay, cool. Sign right here. You know what I mean?
What division are you playing?
D5. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You could sneak that guy in that shouldn't be playing rookie
That's right.
down as long as he put his mask on before he got to the field.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. ID cards. What are those? I remember I think I had one laying around here, the CFOA one. It was like the first one I got. And I was like, wow, this is legit. Like, this is crazy. I thought we were doing something, local. Well, I guess CFOA back then was a lot bigger than the local league, but, pretty, it was the big time back then as well, I would say. And, I thought that was cool. It was like paintball is actually becoming a more legitimate sport at that point. Cause it had been definitely, and still is, I think, a fringe sport for sure. An extreme sport, a niche sport. And it felt more real then, more tangible, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, and at the early 2000s, the CFOA was the second largest league in the country.
That's right. Yeah. So, I mean, we roll up and I tell all the guys, this like the D6 guy or they're about to be D4 guys now. I still call them the D6 guys. Those guys, when we talk about it, I'm like, yeah, we used to go and, all of the vendor trucks were there. PBC was packed with all of the vendors and cars, and you could do your shopping just like you're going to do at this NXL event. We're going to in a week, I guess now. And it was just like that. There was 100 teams, 40 to 100 teams in every division. And it was just crazy pandemonium. I missed those days a little bit. It was nice, to have that in our backyard. You know what I mean?
It was. Didn't know everything else was different, right? Like,
that's right.
I just thought that's how events were supposed to be.
Absolutely.
Of course you get the paint truck.
That's right.
Why wouldn't you have the paint truck?
Yeah. I mean, back then we brought our own skids, right? I mean, it was just different.
That's true.
You were paint sponsored. I shot Nelson paint for a lot of my career early on. That's, we played at Real McCoy's a lot. So Junior had the hookup, man. And we used to, there's some heroic stories of 2-day practices having to get paint, or getting to an event and doing some really crazy stuff in cars that should not carry that much weight and, trying to get somewhere on time and those kind of things. So, those days were good days, man. I look back on those fondly for sure.
So World Cup's coming up. Layout just dropped today. How's the practice gonna be? Are you guys doing a 2-day for World Cup practice?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Last weekend too. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gonna do over at Greensboro, and also we're gonna take some of the guys out to do Glory Road and go scrimmage breakout. So that'll be a good time too.
That'll be
a lot of these D5 guys. That'll be their first kind of scrimmage style practice. So I'm excited for them to get out there and experience that as well.
Yeah, and Breakout is a really good organization.
Oh yeah.
So I was really surprised they didn't move on at the C5XL. So I know that was kind of their practice squad, but
yeah, I think we played them first. I think that day.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they gave us a little trouble when we came around them in the end, thankfully.
Yeah. Well, they had our number for sure. We didn't have the best of days, but
and it happens.
You win
it's
some,
paintball.
you lose some.
That's
right.
right.
So 2-day practice, scrimmaging breakout. When do you guys head down?
Most of us Wednesday night.
Yeah,
Okay.
Wednesday night, somewhere in there.
Nice.
A couple going down to make a vacation, I think, out of it, so they'll be there sooner.
And you're playing D4 and D5X, right?
Yeah, I'm playing D4. Yeah, I'm going to play D4.
Okay.
Austin's going to coach, and then we'll have 2 teams out there doing both.
Nice. Well, good luck to that.
Thank you. Thank you.
What other local teams are making it down there?
So you've got go ahead, Austin.
You got the better memory than me.
So you're gonna have Howlers out there, who a lot of those guys played with Threat this year, actually. So you'll have Howlers out there. You'll have, of course, the Razorbacks are going. Underground's going. Smoke's bringing 2 lines out there. I think Tenacious Boys or at least 1 or 2 of their lines are going out, or some combination of. I want to say Nomads has a team going down. That might be it that I can think of off the top of my head. I think that's right. I know
Life Alert's going down.
Okay.
They played the C3XL.
Yeah.
They've combined with some of the Legendary Weapons guys to go down there. So a little North South Carolina hybrid team.
Heck yeah. Do it.
What was the team? Was there a rival team this year in the AXL?
Austin, you can have that one, bud. That's you all day, buddy.
Well, for me personally, it was definitely the Beach Bandits.
Okay.
They've been kind of the team to beat all year, kind of been us and them going back and forth, feels like. Obviously, coaches that program. So from a selfish perspective, I definitely, had something to prove as well as, coaching side of it. And that was always, they're our enemy, but that was always the team I had the most fun coaching against. I feel like Yaya and I would just kept going back and forth on the chessboard. So that was a really good time for sure. But yeah, those were the guys. I don't know if I should bring the ring story up, but I'll at least mention it. So just some paintball drama for you. So
I'm just gonna.
Yeah, there you go.
How's the meme go?
So right before this last AXL for the D5 boys, AXL posted up a bunch of pictures of their rings, and a couple of the Beach Bandits guys went on there and were saying, we'll take that in size 10.5. And that was jet fuel for the boys. I'll say that. So that was kind of we went out there, we wanted to go out there and win, but we really wanted to go out there and beat the Beach Bandits. So it wasn't, we really kind of try to preach positivity and trying to be a family. So it doesn't get ugly, but yeah, we were trying hard there for sure. So when we played them in the prelims, that's probably the hardest I've ever seen those boys play for sure.
Nice.
And
you can have a rival.
They
won.
They won.
You can have a rivalry and it still be like, civil and fun and competitive. It doesn't have to be like F those guys, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh,
absolutely.
What about for the D4 squad?
Austin, I don't think we really had anybody that we were necessarily rivals with.
Really,
I'll say that everybody that's been on that team or that played on that team, it was a weird hybrid team. I'll put it like that. We had a few guys that had never really played X-Ball before that we brought on early in the year and that played for most of the year. But then we had a lot of really veteran guys like, we had Reese Cox and Logan Beatty that were playing with us, and they're good friends of ours outside of paintball too. So we had those guys, myself, Andrew Klein, who's one of my best friends, played with us this year some. So we kind of had we've played paintball before team in that way, and I think that none of us were focused on that. I think our biggest rival would have just been ourselves, just trying to keep it together and do good paintball and play the way we know how to play. So no one team or anything like that, I would say, but just, some of that mysticism maybe is worn off a little bit in that way, if that makes sense. So we just want to win. We just want to play paintball. It doesn't matter who's on the other side kind of situation. So
you brought up earlier in the conversation, Carolina D4 is a little different, right?
Yeah.
Understatement.
It's Yeah, I'll expand on that 100%.
Yeah,
Especially coming back in, right? So, you know, I don't want to be the guy that says it, but I guess I'm going to be on this thing. It's the most sandbag possible, league, and it's not sandbagging. It's playing by the rules, but it's if you turn at any event and look around you and look at the players that are out there, the majority of the teams are made up with guys that played as high as pro paintball, that are playing in a I guess a regional local tournament level series at that point, especially, or if they're still playing nationally, it's a bunch of guys that know how to play paintball. It's not an easy task to come in there and just run away with it. No D5, very few D5 teams have made that transition, true D5 teams that transition to D4 and just all of a sudden start winning, just because the amount of experience, I think, and talent. And something I've noticed coming back into the sport, it was like, myself, I'm like, yeah, I'll go play D4. It's no big deal. And getting out there for the first time and being like, holy crap, these guys are just as good as they were, 10 years ago, and it's like, okay, I've got to catch up, so yeah, that's again, I don't want to be the guy that says it, but it's definitely, I think we've got probably and this is another hot take, I think this Carolina's in this divisional realm of 4, maybe 3. You've got a lot of talent in that zone, and there's a reason that these teams do really well, I think, at national level consistently, is because the competition level and the experience level down here is so high, just so high.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to co-sign everything you just said.
All right, good. I'm not the only one.
So if they want to give you crap for it, they can give me crap for it.
That's fair.
We don't really have like a D3 league to go play. You're either going down to Florida or you're going up to Maryland.
That's right.
If you're going to do that. So, I mean, what happens is a lot of dudes who do go up high, they end up taking time off, right? They fall back down and then they come back in. And then, we got a lot of guys that know how to play the points that, hey, I'm a D3 guy. I'm not playing anymore. I can go guest for a little bit and I'll get a win or two and then I'll disappear for the rest of the year.
That's right.
But then there's someone else to like fill that void.
I mean, case in point, both of us here, I started this year with 89 points. I played last year, but we played Zanoli, so none of that carried.
Yeah.
I hadn't played a paintball tournament in 12 years. And, I'm sitting, I think, right at 400 now or whatever. We won't get to D3 this year, thankfully. And I say that, right? Here I am. I'm the problem, right? We're not going to get to D3, thankfully, this year. But, case in point, I'd probably, not to toot my own horn or to sound, I'm going to sound narcissistic, but probably forgotten more about paintball than a lot of the guys that are in those divisions, know at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it fair? I don't know. The numbers say it is. I'm not the best player by any means in the division or at this, in general, nowhere near it, but it's still, there's still this up there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's, you can't just make that happen. It doesn't just happen overnight,
No,
Austin's the same way. I mean, you had a guy that
counts for a lot, right?
100%. Yeah. You got a D1 player, takes time off and is playing D4 and D5. It's kind of crazy. A couple years and all of a sudden he's back playing, at the more entry level. So,
yeah.
I'm not saying it's a problem. I mean, I guess it works for some, but yeah, it's definitely a thing.
I think I don't have a problem with anyone playing paintball, especially locally, right? Like I think that's the problem, is that there's not a place for people to go and play.
You're right.
So, and I know leagues have tried in the Carolinas to have a D3 and it just hasn't taken off for whatever reason. And you can start getting into politics and who likes who stuff there,
Yeah.
But, it's just, it's a thing. Like the D5 to D4 jump in the Carolinas is a steep one, right?
It is.
I think a lot more than in a region that has at least a D3 regional league to go and play, right?
Absolutely.
So, and when that's what you got, that's what you got. And if you want to play, that's what you're going to figure out how to play in.
Yeah, 100%.
So
that's why everybody's so good down here, though, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at, and we had Greenville Growl, not this year, but the last 2 years. We've had a lot of guys go up to NRG. We got the War guys in D3 and Underground in D2. But a lot of those guys are a product of the regional leagues, and are some of the best players out of those regional leagues that make 100%. Up those teams. So just is what it is,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, and there's that aspect to it of metal sharpens metal kind of deal where
absolutely
it's kind of an open division, and so like we've been saying, I think there's a lot of advantages to it. It's the one disadvantage is like we've been, the D5 to D4 jump. That's kind of the hurdle that we need to in the Carolinas somehow do a little bit better job of, I think. But minus that, I think I really kind of like the going back to college ball where you got guys that have been playing for 15 years next to guys that have been playing for a couple. So I think that's something that's worth keeping alive in the Carolinas, but helping those D5 boys make the jump. Whatever we can do, we got to do it.
Yeah. I think it's just, if you're a winning team at D5, you need to come in with the mentality in the Carolinas, at least. And I'll even say Georgia, because that league is popping, that you're probably going to take a learning year.
100%.
So, I think it's hard for teams when they come out of D5 winning to take that learning year. Like it's an ego check, right? But it just is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, so both of you been in it a hot minute. What's the marker you sold off that you wish you kept, or the unicorn marker?
Dude, don't even get me started. I'm still bad about it, man. If my wife only knew. Austin, yours are a lot more relative. Like people that are listening might actually know what some of these are. You go ahead and tell everyone, and then I'll hit mine.
Sure. Yeah, I had. It seems silly, but I mean, all these guns, they have variances and tolerances, and you'll get, any brand you want to say, you'll get two guns that are the exact same brand. They come out of the same factory. They could be the same batch, and they just shoot slightly different. And I had an all silver Geo 3.1. I couldn't tell you what it was, but Jack Wood came down and blessed that gun. I don't know, but that thing shot better than pretty much anything else I've ever shot since, before, after. I shouldn't have sold it, but I was broke in college and said, I sold it to a local guy, and I'll get it back. And then he sold it to a guy, and it's gone. So yeah, I think that's kind of it's not necessarily special, but like I said, when you get that certain one, you get a lemon, but sometimes you get that one and you're like, this is
this is tough for me. Mine is probably this one because it's the only one I think I have a picture of anymore. Okay. But I was grabbing my phone because it's like where's my camera on this? I still have a picture of this thing, but that thing right there, man, was an absolute champ. It was a unit back in the day. It came from somewhere, from someone. It had some cool stuff inside it. Well, you could probably peep the board there for a second.
A little
but man, that thing maybe that thing was an absolute monster, though, man. And what a good gun. Unfortunately, didn't get to shoot it as much as I wanted to because some of the teams we were playing for, we had some limits to some of that. But that gun, man, I don't know. I've always liked the Intimidators. you know, I got into, like I was saying, spiders. You know, we were doing like low pressure AMGs back in the day, which is again gonna date the absolute crap out of me. But you know, we were doing low pressure AMGs. You know, like I said, T-boards, cutting the body, running eye wires, the whole 9 yards. So you know, poppet valve guns were kind of my thing back in the day. Just ended up shooting a lot of spool guns, but that one is the one that gets away. And you know, if anybody, you know, I ever talk to anybody, they're like, "Hey, do you still have that Naughty Dogs?" Nah, man, I got rid of that a long time ago. You know, Spencer Barry and I, we have a joke because he'll message me. He's messaged me every couple of years. You know, we played together on a couple teams. You know, he'll message me and be like, "Hey, you got anything you want to sell? You still got that Naughty Dogs?" You know, so you know, but I had a few other cool ones. You know, some hybrid shockers back in the day, and you know, my team gun. That I say team gun like we're special, but we were sponsored by Proto in 05 and 06 back at Patriots. So I had a PM6 that I loved. You know, that was my gun too. And then a DM7 for a while. Nice. That, you know, if you knew me back then, I was probably shooting that, but that Naughty Dogs is definitely the one that got away. I wish I could have it back. So who knows where it is now.
Nice. Any special like rituals or piece of gear before you go out and play? Like, especially if it's at an event you got to have on you?
I do. You want to go, Austin? I feel like I dominate. I do.
I'm not super.
I can go grab it. I can go grab it out. I bought there's two things actually for me. They're items. So one is a Sandana head wrap. It's an OG head wrap. I think I got it. I can't remember where I got it, but it was at some major event somewhere, probably in like 03 or 04. I think we paid like $15 or $20 for them back then. But it is it's an OG, the real deal. I didn't care about back then because they were like completely replaceable. Having it now, and apparently they're worth a bunch of money, but I wore it. I just wore it nonstop. Even when I had hair back then, you know, I was wearing that thing. And then same with a pair of the frames I've got. Again, they were just JT ProFlex frames. They didn't matter, you know, but I can't replicate the foam in them. I've got a pair of thins and a pair of like the HB style, the 04, 05 style frames that I still wear, that I'll never get rid of. You'll have to prime from me. If you want them, you know, I'll send you my address. We can go outside kind of thing. Because I can't recreate the foam. I've tried it all. Like, you know, it's just, they're the absolute, you know, I have to wear those frames, but specifically the 04, 05 frames. Those to me are like, I can't replace them. You know what I mean? And I'll bring that Sandana out every once in a while. I'm teetering on whether I want to actually let it travel to me, you know, for cup, but, that one means something. So if I put that one on, but for me, it's a head wrap. It's always a Sandana every single time. It has to be. Nice. So I'm just not me without it.
The headband, head wraps has gone nuts.
So
since
dumb.
Coming back. Like,
so dumb.
You know, I was like, yeah, these things were so cheap back in the day.
Yeah, we didn't care. It was just like they were hanging in plastic sleeves that, you know, on the little tower racks, you know, you just walked over and paid for it. Like nobody cared. And I come back and I'm like, holy crap, that thing's worth $700 or whatever, you know, and I'm like, it's a piece of cloth I paid $15 for. So it's like, you know, what are we doing? You know, paintball's always been about looks, right? Though, I mean, style.
Oh yeah,
we're all vain, right? I think paintball players are usually, you know, type A personality guys and girls. So it's like, you know, we want to look cool, and that's, you know, 70% of paintball I think is looking cool, right?
Oh yeah,
so
look good, feel good, right?
Yeah, I get it, and I think in the social media era, right, these photos matter. I wish I had photos from the stuff I did back in the day. Nobody cared back then.
I got,
you know?
I think I got one set of photos from one tournament, you know, from like 2001. And that was it until like, I don't know, 2009. And then I might've got another set, you know?
Yeah. Same, you know, shout out to Ag PB Picks. That was, Oh my God, my brain just stopped working. Phil Thomas, shout out to him too. That was his dad, I think, doing those photos back in the day. So I have a few of those that have stayed. And I think we were in a couple. I know we were in a couple like PB2X or whatever magazines where we had won like a tournament or whatever. So there's my mother has some of that stuff in a box, somewhere. But I wish I had just some of the other stuff. You know what I mean? Like these kids, people are so lucky now. I say kids, but they're so lucky now because there's 18 photographers out there at any point. There's a million photos being taken. They get to have that. I wish I still had some of that stuff to go back and look at. The memories. So but I think that's
video.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Like, no, I was just gonna
what's
say
a
like
video, man? Yeah, what's a video?
I think I got 2 clips from me playing pre 2020.
I think we
played
got
a lot of paintball.
Same. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a different world now. It really is. I wish that we could. I'd say Austin's probably tired of hearing me talk about this because I talk about it all the time. But I wish we could take everybody that's playing paintball right now and take them back to maybe like the 2003 to 2008 era of paintball and let them just experience like an entire event, for 1 weekend of real practice, just everything the way it was back then. I wish everyone could see it. You know what I mean? Because me personally, I would love for paintball to go back that direction. But I just don't think it will at this point. I think it's moved beyond that at this, stage. So
yeah. Well, I think tournament paintball is still on the rise, like when you're looking at national numbers. But I know paintball as a whole has shrunk back down a little bit.
Oh yeah.
We had a good boost during COVID, but I think people are just, the economy and stuff has got people worried.
Yep.
So, can't blame them when inflation's up so much that you tighten your belt a little bit, right?
Yeah.
So
it's always been the sports crux. It's too expensive. It's just too expensive. Doesn't have the prestige, and I will preface this. I'm into, if there's an expensive hobby, and Austin will tell you, I'm into it.
He's in all of them, yeah.
Yeah, I have race cars, I play golf, I like other things that, send projectiles in places. Like I love all that stuff. And I'm actively engaged in doing it all. So when I say this sport is probably has the least prestige. It's not a gentleman's sport. You can't get away with it like in golf, where it's semi-justifiable. Motorsports, it's expensive and it's known. But again, the guys you see out doing that on the weekends, there are certain type of guys generally. The sports at that level of expense or very close to it, but doesn't have the prestige. It's still looked at as kind of a gritty, grimy sport, I think, a backwoods kind of sport. And that image shake is what's going to be hard because of the expense. You know what I mean? If there was a way to flip that script, I think that would be the ticket. I know they tried in the early 2000s, with the Smart Parts Cup and all that stuff, all the television stuff they did. You had real world sponsors like Balls, and you had IBM back then, and all those guys that were coming in, were real companies, real money coming in to try and do some of the sport. And I think we squandered it to some extent, but I also think that it just was too grimy of a sport for your average viewer to kind of get into. And I think that's what's always going to keep it in the position it's in. And I think a lot of it has to do with the expense, just the overall expense of it.
Well, I think we were right there. And then the housing crisis just crushed it, and I know it crushed a lot of things, but during that time, like it felt like we were the next extreme sport, right?
I thought so. 100%.
And, housing market did what it did and people had to do what they had to do. But by the time it like all leveled back out, extreme sports weren't the thing anymore, right?
Nope.
So it's, I'm not saying we won't have a other opportunity to pop that bubble, but it's going to be a minute. So
yeah,
And it's kind of a common thing that you see a lot of these edge case sports is like you get these big companies that come in and pump a bunch of money, and every company needs to make money. So at some point people expect returns. I mean, esports or, like any of the other extreme sports that have, come and gone, that eventually you kind of level out to this sort of level of, maybe that a more mature edge case sport is like we are now, where we'll continue to see big growth or like, steady growth, not big growth. And that I think that, as long as the people that are at the top maintain that and, keep the core people happy, I think that word of mouth will keep pushing it. People are always looking for something else to do other than sit on their phones. But yeah, definitely I'd be very surprised if, all of a sudden we're seeing, paintball pass, ESPN Ochos or, something like that. But but granted, the internet is, provided a lot of opportunities for exposure as well. So I think bringing some growth from that, some of those guys that are putting out good YouTube content, I think are doing a lot of the heavy lifting for everybody for sure.
But yeah. I mean, Matt, the gym rat, is doing a bunch, I think, he is probably not paid enough by the paintball industry for what he does for getting people in. He's figured it out. And there's others, like, I think that the others are almost more for like guys that are in it, right? Like Ronnie's.
That's the thing. Yep. 100%. Yeah. I love Ronnie's stuff. Yeah.
But it's like, what brings you to Ronnie's stuff, you're kind of in it, right? Where like Matt's, he does a really good job with his titles and taglines of like, oh, well, that's interesting, let me watch that video. Where Ronnie's, you almost got to be initiated a little bit into the society, right?
Oh, 100%.
To get
definitely.
It. So I know they're trying. Hopefully sorry, a bunch of things just came in and it distracted me.
It's okay. I've had work, I was off today, so I've had all this work stuff cycling through my screen. That's why if you guys see me like, I'm like trying to figure out what's going on.
But I think it's just we'll get there. I kind of use lacrosse as a gauge for us, right? Like lacrosse is still a very niche sport. It's an older sport than us, but it's it hasn't quite made the jump yet to everyone. Like you're starting to see like more kids down south definitely get into it, but it's still like a Northeast sport
for sure. For sure. We lived there for 3 years, and that we did that, in Connecticut, and which is definitely, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, we did that for 3 years, and it was it was gym class. We did a lacrosse. Came down here and never heard about it again. You know what I mean?
No.
So yeah, like you said, I think it's growing. I think Carolina's got a good lacrosse program, don't they? I think.
Yeah.
Not to get off subject, but yeah.
Well, I mean,
there you go.
And relates to like paintball and the growth, right? Like,
sure.
I think once you see like, someone's got to snatch up the pro lacrosse circuit, and then that's the person I think we need to look at to be like, okay, if they want that, they might be interested in paintball.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I think, one avenue, not a call to action, but, I think something like, for F1 Drive to Survive, right? Like it doesn't have to be at that production level or anything like that, but something that brings in all of the stuff that you just don't see. You see a paintball field and it's, you see dudes shooting at each other and screaming, but you don't see all the stuff that happens in the background, the brotherhood, the long car rides, the crazy stuff that happens off the field, the drama, like obviously, that kind of stuff. If there's someone out there that can highlight that and is, a good videographer, I think that it would both help us as a sport, but I think that's content that's just waiting to be had by somebody. And like I said, I've seen some attempts here, like the Rookie back in the day, 10 years ago, that kind of stuff. Doing that sort of thing, I think is another avenue that we could definitely, if someone's out there, definitely do it if you're thinking about it.
If I can, I'd kind of like to segue in kind of what we're talking about into kind of what Threat's purpose is, and that's, I think this is now as good a time as any. This is a program. We call it a program. We don't call it a team. We call it a program. This is a program for trying to help continue to grow paintball players in the Carolinas. I think there was a bit of a vacuum you know, and like we kind of touched on earlier, we identified that, and we are trying to create that, you know, that program that lets kids play, lets adults play, lets people play paintball, you know, and gives them the ability to grow. You know, like I said earlier, my main focus is watching the growth. My biggest reward is watching the growth. You know, it's, I always tell Austin, you know, I want to play paintball as long as I can, I guess now again. So, you know, but when that day to step away is, I want to be able to look back, you know, and say, hey, we did this, or I want to look back and go, hey, that guy played with Threat and now he's playing with, you know, whoever, you know, in the pro division, you know, and I want to have that foundation. I want it to be more than just, you know, it was a paintball team that played a bunch of paintball. You know, we want that. And that's the purpose of the team, you know, and kind of set, you know, shout out to the team for the tryout too. You know, that's what we're looking for. We're looking for guys that want to grow and that are committed, that want to do that, want to be a part of a program, not just a team, not a bunch of guys to run around, you know, in crazy outfits with, you know, Austin calls it adult water balloons, you know. You know, we want growth. We want, you know, we want to create a legacy and create a place for people. And that is the purpose of this team. It is 100% the mission for it, and where we focus at 24/7 in regards to the team.
Yeah. And
So
I think
guys,
part of the, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say that, yeah, I think part of that, and I kind of mentioned it earlier, is like, you know, part of what we're building on that front is trying to build a place that I've seen exist in a couple other regions, and I think has existed and continues to exist in some you know, some sense across the Carolinas as well. But that sense of focus, like it feels real. It feels like a real sport. We're not going out there and, you know, playing pickup ball or street ball. Like we're going out there. We've got, you know, everyone's showing up at 9:30. We're running these drills. You know, there's expectations. We're doing team meetings before every tournament, like, and just having that be the focus that we're growing. You know, we played so many points, played so many practice points where we're not trying to win. Like that's not what it's about. It's about like becoming more gelled as a family. It's about building individual skills and just trying to build some of that renewed focus directly on that kind of thing. I think is going to be, you know, at least partially that's the goal, at least, is to try to, you know, drag everyone with us too. And, you know, try to bring some of that back that, I think, you know, like the Crisis guys, for example, they really did have some of that, you know, a few years ago, really, you know, organizationally, everyone knew the expectations, everyone was practicing a certain type of way. You know, and there was just this expectation of, I guess, like professionality, if you want to call it that, or whatever, but, you know, kind of trying to bolster that and try to build that into, you know, as our identity is Threat. So that's kind of, if you want to say, you know, where we're trying to grow from our side, the sport, that's what we're definitely trying to do it.
Yeah. And, you know, I think for an area to be really nationally relevant, you need that in a couple different places inside a region, right? Like you need you guys up in Greensboro, you need, there's a, you know, the Killing Nares or whatever down in Palmetto Hills and right outside of Charlotte. You know, I know Mike tried to do that with AC Greenville here, and Roth has really opened up Rice and Beans to be more inclusive of everyone down here also. But it takes a lot of those and the Beach Bandits down in, you know, down on the coast.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
I feel so bad. Haven't been able to get any of them on here.
Shout out to them too. A couple of those guys were teammates of mine back in the day.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean,
Nice.
these are OG guys. So yeah, shout out to a couple of them.
Well, hey, send a couple of them a message and be like, hey, hit up Hunter. he wants to have you on.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, because you know, that organization's been going like 4 or 5 years now. And they're staying true to mission of growing it down there. And the Smoke guys down in Charleston too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, you know,
good dudes.
If you want to play competitive paintball in Charleston, Smoke will find you a spot.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I think we're starting to see it build again, and you know, I think right now we just got a ton of options, which is great, but it keeps one league from being too big, right? Or big enough to get national recognition in the area, at least. Just because we got the AXL, we got the C3XL, we got the CFOA fun stuff. And then we got, Georgia, which I know is farther for you guys, but for the Charlotte guys and the South Carolina guys, like that's a real pull into the NGXL. So, and then the Bear Ridge camp, I know it's all
those guys
mostly,
are legit. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
All the way through from the Jungle Cats down. I think the Southeast, or what I would call the core South, which is Carolina and Georgia, is starting to be on the come up.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, well, we've clocked in over an hour, boys.
How about that?
I'm a talker. If you haven't been able to figure out through this,
I just wind Justin up and let him go. Easy.
I'll just keep going, man.
Well, we'll definitely have you guys back on. It's not I don't want these to be one and done. I really want to follow organizations throughout the year or throughout the years, hopefully. So we'll definitely
love to be back on.
We'll do one after tryouts or something. Let's just put that in your minds, and we'll figure it out after that time.
That sounds great.
But shout out the sponsors, I guess. And
thanks, Enemy of the State. Enemy of the State. We appreciate them. They've been great this year. We've got some awesome jerseys. Shout out Sean Moss again. I wish he was here with us. He didn't really necessarily want to be on the camera. So, but shout out to Sean. He's a huge, just as big a part of this as anybody. And he spends a ton of time. All these jerseys are him. So if anybody wants to snag some merch, reach out to us. We can definitely we hook you guys up with some threat stuff. There's some floating around in New York and California, Texas, I think all over. So, and then obviously PBC, thank you to them, for Andrew Gibson, all those guys, for helping us, you know what I mean? So we appreciate it and being able to have a home. So
nice. Well, we'll see everyone else next time on the Planet Paintball Podcast. You guys will probably be the last one before World Cup. So we will see everyone else after World Cup.
Awesome.
You guys just hang out for a second, and we're going to stop the recording here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Planet Paintball Podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Whether you're out there grinding in the divisional pits or chasing dreams on the pro stage, remember, it's all about the passion, the hustle, and the love for the sport. Shout out to 1023 Sportswear for sponsoring the show. Don't forget to use code Planet Paintball at checkout for 20% off your order. Gear up, save big. Until next time, keep grinding, keep growing, and we'll see you back here on the Planet Paintball Podcast